Hey everybody, this is Captain Frugal reporting for duty, giving you my weekly comic book review. So sit back and enjoy.
News about comic books, musical instruments, tech reviews, and video games with your host, Captain Frugal.
Welcome back, comic book fans, and welcome back to the channel. Every week, a flood of comics hits the shelves, and it can be tough to decide what to pick up. But don't worry, that's what I'm here for. We're about to dive in to this week's releases to crown one book the comic of the week. Will it be an epic superhero showdown, a mind-bending indie darling, or maybe a hilarious new series that everyone has been talking about? I've read a stack of them, and I've got some strong opinions. So stick around to the very end to see which comic earned the top spot and why you absolutely need to add it to your collection. Feel free to drop your own picks in the comments below. I'd love to see what you're reading. So, let's get into it. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more comic book reviews every week. Welcome everybody to this week's comic book review. You know, I didn't read a whole lot this week, so it's pretty slim pickings for me, but I'm still going to give you my thoughts on 4 books this week and my comic book of the week last. So make sure you stick to the end to get my favorite comic book of this week that I've read. The first one I want to talk about is Magik and Colossus issue number 3. I found that I did not see any reviews on League of Comics Geeks for this one. No, I'm kidding. There was 252 reviews with a 4.0 score, so pretty strong start, but I didn't give the book as high of a score. I gave it a 3.5. The writer is Ashley Allen, artist is Jermaine Peralta, which I probably butchered. The cover I thought was a pretty good cover, pretty interesting right from the start. Anyway, in this issue, Magik finds herself abducted and trapped in a magical gladiator arena run by a mysterious sorcerer, which is known to be working for what they call the Immortal. Her connection to Limbo is dampened and her soul sword is blocked, forcing her to rely on her raw hand-to-hand combat skills and her tactical brilliance to survive wave after wave of monsters. Meanwhile, Colossus is tearing through the seedy underbelly of St. Petersburg. This issue puts significant spotlight on Peter's internal monologue and his struggle with his own inner monster. Will Colossus be able to hop in time to help and save the day? Well, only time will tell if you read this issue. But let's look at what some other people think too. As I look, I do see a lot of 4 stars, 5 stars, and 3 stars. Nothing really truly that bad in negative. So this book is off to, series is off to a pretty good go. Not everybody's a big fan of these characters, and I get that they're not the most popular ones that Marvel has, but hey, it is what it is. Anyway, here's one, 4 stars, hands down the best issue yet. I am loving how Ashley Allen is writing these traumatized siblings. So there we go. Good point about characterization there. A 5 star. With every issue, I think this book gets stronger and stronger. This truly feels like a continuation of the classic X-Men and New Mutants book that made me fall in love with Liliana. So there we go. We got a lot of positivity there. Let's find one a little lower here. 3 star. This story seems to either have gotten lost or we readers aren't exactly primed for it. Magik appears in an arena where she has to fight round after round for the pleasure of some wizard guy. Okay, evidently this person doesn't understand what happened at the end of last issue, so I can see their gripe here, but if you were reading the series, it would make sense. Are you checking this out? If you're a big fan of these characters, maybe you should. Let me know your thoughts. I'd love to see them in the comments. The next book I want to talk about is The Imperial Guardians issue number 2 with 140 ratings, 3.8 score in League of Comics Geeks, which is the same exact score I gave it, a 3.8. I do like the cover. There's some open order covers I like as well for this book. The writer is Dan Abbott, penciler is Marcelo Ferrari, and what can I say here? At the beginning of the book, I'm starting to get a little testy because they're still treating Darkhawk like really poorly. The writer of this make him look like an idiot, but as the book goes on, Carol is actually starting to have a change of heart, if you will, and starting to treat Darkhawk with respect and actually pumping him up a little bit. So I actually enjoyed this issue, started coming into it unhappy with the direction, and then turned around and enjoyed it. So anyway, this is following the events of the first issue with Captain Marvel, Gamora, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Darkhawk, and Brawn, which is Amadeus Cho. They're sent to planet Zarth. And this is a minor civilization that has acquired what they call the Peerless Star Forged Blade and Shi'ar Battle Fleet. Really, the mission here is to neutralize this threat before the Xantharians, which I probably pronounced that are wrong because I'm terrible with names. Their goal is to get that, and that would cause a disruption in the peace in the Galactic Union. And so this team's goal is to stop them from getting this. And we get to see Cho's brilliance here on how to stop it. We don't have to blow it up. We don't have to kill a bunch of people and blow this thing up to do it. They have a plan to go in and keep them from being able to utilize this. And I do think this was a fun issue. As I said a moment ago, I didn't really like how they were treating Darkhawk, especially in issue 1. And then when this one began, it was more of the same. Darkhawk just comes off like an idiot. But yet, they're starting to change it. And the backup there of Carol treating him with some kind words and showing him that, hey, you're more of a hero than you realize and what you're going through. I think this could, if written right, lead to Darkhawk getting a heroic moment. Hopefully not a death moment, though, would be nice. With that said, this book is dead walking. This has went from ongoing to immediately being turned into a mini-series. So if it's something you're interested in picking up, know that this is a mini-series. It's not going to continue long-term. The overall views of it are pretty good, with a lot of 4 stars, a couple 3s, not a whole lot of negativity here. Let's look at a 4-star. Really great balance of action and genuinely meaningful and well done team bonding. Every aspect of this issue was paced perfectly and really entertaining. Here's a lower one with only 2.5 stars. I definitely like this issue more than the last, but this still isn't clicking for me. It comes down to the characters, really. I just haven't been given a reason to care for this team as a team yet. And the plot itself, I'm not particularly invested in either, so I'm mostly bored throughout. So I think this is more of them, but they did like the scenes of Carol and Darkhawk. This person might not just be a fan of these characters. That makes perfect sense, and that's perfectly acceptable. But let's end this on a positive note. I really like the dynamics between all the characters. Complete disagreement with one of the other reviewers. Darkhawk and mainly Cosmic Ghost Rider are carrying so hard. My ratings will definitely be overinflated because of them. They are 2 pretty cool characters. Give Darkhawk more credit, right? All right, so I hope you enjoy this issue. If you're checking it out, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Next, let's look at Nightwing, issue 137. 637 ratings with a 4.2 score on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave the book a strong 4. The cover's okay. It's The Bridge. Yeah, The Bridge. The writer's Dan Waters, penciler Dennis Cowan. It's an interesting issue, if you ask me overall. There's a deadly hostage situation that erupts on Bloodhaven Bridge, forcing a mentally frayed Nightwing into action. After his last experiences on the bridge, he's struggling. And because Dick is clearly overworking himself. Yep, Dick is going in too hard here. He's spiraling. Batman arrives. We get a guest appearance by Batman because he's checking on Nightwing. He's not so sure about what he does. As a matter of fact, he does some action in his book which makes Batman even question him more. So I think the art was very solid in this book, as Nightwing is trying to stop these shooters with Batman's help. It's interesting. Good art style. I really do think it's good. This is a dark issue. If you like some dark stories, this is a pretty good one, and I'm enjoying it. I tend to like Nightwing when he's more grounded in stories like this, as opposed to the last storyline we had where it was a little overblown. Though I get it, we're in the DC universe, anything crazy can happen, but I do think this is an overall better fit. But let's look what some other people have to say about it. I'm looking, I see lots of 4 stars. I do see a 3-star here, so let's get a review here. Here's a 5-star. Oh my, how I love it. I'm blown away. I just can't get over how good this fits Nightwing. You know what? I agree right there. It's a good fit. Here's another one. Dan Waters has Nightwing going through absolute hell since joining the creative team, and I love it. We're peeling back the layers of Dick. Each Bloodhaven urban tale ties back to Nightwing's decaying mental state. Yeah, I think that I agree with that too. Another one. Every issue of the run feels like a gulp of fresh, cold water in the middle of a desert. It's such a joy to read a Nightwing comic by someone who's doing the themes and story with A and B plots, who clearly genuinely loves the last 40 years of Nightwing comics. So there you go. Mostly very positive take on this. This might be the time. This might be the storyline to check out. So get issue 136 and 137 if you want to check out more from this storyline. Now it's time for my comic book of the week. G.I. Joe, issue number 21, with 252 ratings, 4.2 score on League of Comics Geeks, and I gave it a 4.2 as well. Writers Joshua Williamson, artist is Tom Riley. This book has an okay cover. It has Scarlet on it, which, it's always a help. There's some alternate covers too with Storm Shadow and Scarlet. By the way, this cover has Storm Shadow as well. Who doesn't think Storm Shadow is cool? There's some variant covers though that are definitely really good and better for this. But hey, they can't all be as good, right? They have to have some better than others. Anyway, this is an interesting issue from the Skybound Image Comics line here from the Energon universe. This is following in the traditional classic G.I. Joe silent kind of issue. This issue is mostly silent. It features absolutely no dialogue in it, right? In that kind of direction here. We get a little bit of text, but not dialogue. And so this is interesting. On top of that, this issue serves as a direct follow-up to the Scarlet miniseries that we had before they started this G.I. Joe ongoing title. So the G.I. Joe team, particularly here, Snowjob, CoverGirl, and Frostbite, are sent in to extract Scarlet. And even if she doesn't want to go. So the goal is to get her from the I can never mention that clan's name. Bunch of ninjas. But just as the distraction begins, Cobra forces launch a brutal attack on the ninjas, and it becomes a massive battle there. So we get Storm Shadow, we get Scarlet in this, and an intense battle with casualties left and right. This is a brutal issue. It really is. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. I could not help it. That's why I gave it a 4.2 as my comic book of the week. But I'm not the only one that really enjoyed it, but it was a bit of a mixed bag too. I see a 2-star. Massive letdown. I am consistent in my dislike of comic books with too many wordless panels. I think they missed the point. That you don't always need words. If the actions can tell the story, you don't always need them. I think this did just fine on its own. Do you have a problem with that? I loved so far most of these wordless issues from G.I. Joe. That means the art has to carry the story and be good enough to understand what's going on. And I think this issue really did it. Another one's 5-star though. In tradition of a G.I. Joe issue 21, this is mostly silent issue. We see Scarlet on a mission with Storm Shadow, and Cobra pokes their head up. It's a fantastic issue with gorgeous artwork, and I tend to agree. Let's look at a 4-star. What an amazing display of storytelling throughout with art alone. I'm not as familiar with the silent issues as I'm newer to this franchise, but what an amazing experience. So far, people are saying, no, we don't agree with this other person. We'd like the no words if done right, and I tend to agree. Let's look at another one, 4.5. Never read any of the classic silent mission style comics from Larry Hama. So this was my first experience with this type of Joe storytelling, and I really enjoyed it. So the person that didn't like it seems to be on the minority of this, and that's okay. You can have your views. Speaking of that, what's your views on this comic book? Are you checking out G.I. Joe? Do you like the silent books? I do. I gave this book a 4.2 score as my comic book of the week. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this week's comic book reviews here. What's your favorites? What did you like? Also, I want to take a moment to thank, again, the people that support this channel. It truly would not be possible without them. These comics keep getting more expensive all the time, and it also takes a lot of time to do this. I streamline my process of doing these videos. I get as much out of them as I can, but they would not be possible without them. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Have a great day, and you know what? Let's be nice to each other. And until next time, keep it frugal.